Hey, what's going on, guys? Check it out real quick. I just wanted to show you a few ideas or a few examples of soloing over a 2-5-1 progression, some go-to ideas, some phrases that I use frequently just to get you over that hump of soloing over a 2-5-1 progression, which is the most common progression known. So grab your bass and let's go. But hey guys, real quick before we get into it, if you haven't visited the Bass Nation Academy by now, I strongly suggest you go do so. There's much more available at DerekBennett.com. So first and foremost, if you guys are here, you should know what the 2-5-1 progression is in order to solo over it. So I'm going to go over it really quick. You have D minor 7, G7, C major 7. See, that was really quick. So usually when you hear the 2-5-1 progression in a tune or in a song, usually hear that D minor 7 at first for one bar, the G7 for another bar, if you're in the key of C, obviously. D minor 7 for one bar, G7 for the next bar, and the C major 7 for the next two bars. So it'll go something like this. So we have. So it'll go one bar, two bars, right? So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. You get it? Other times you'll hear that progression play really quick. So a half a bar. So you hear that D minor 7 for 2 beats. You hear the G7, G7 for the next 2 beats, and then the C major 7 for the next measure. So something like this. So instead of having that D minor 7 for a whole measure, you cut that in half and share that space with the D minor 7 and the G7. Usually when you're playing that progression and it goes by fast like that, you can't do the same exact phrase that you would do on the progression that would hold out the chord. Say, for instance, the D minor 7 for one measure. You have a longer amount of time to be able to come up with a phrase or to play a phrase inside of that measure. So for an example today, I want to show you guys the 2-5-1 progression using that D minor 7 and G7 split between one measure. Like I said before, the D minor 7 gets 2 beats, the G7 gets 2 beats, and then for the next measure, the C major 7 gets that. So let's try it. Let's do a little slow. So we have. So D minor 7, G7, C major 7. So what I like to do, what I've found out, for the first chord, the 2, you can use a Dorian scale. Hence the 2-5-1. So 2 is for the Dorian, 5 is for the Mixolydian, and 1 is for the Ionian. So major scale starting on C, then the C major scale starting on D for the D minor, then the C major scale starting on G. Simple as that. Okay, so I can use that Dorian scale for the whole entire duration of this progression. So let me show you exactly what I mean. So, and it fits perfectly. And the way to be able to make it fit that nice is a nice way to do it is to end on the major third, or that third of that chord that you end on. So for instance, we have the C major 7. I'm ending on the E, which is the third of C major. The third just really sounds nice when you end on that as a chord tone to end that measure on the 1. So you have. Okay, so I'm just playing through that chord progression. So the D Dorian scale. Not playing any fancy patterns or anything like that. I'm just playing through the scale, using it to my advantage. And then ending on that 9 of the D minor, which would be the E, which happens to be the third of the C major. And it just lands very nice. That's one way to do it. It's a very simple way. So that's one way to play around the 2-5-1 progression. Let me play it one more time. One more time. So another way to maneuver around that progression is actually a lot similar to what we just did. We're starting on the D, but we're playing the arpeggio instead of the scale. So we're playing the D minor 7 arpeggio. And then we're going down that scale, that same scale, until we get to the third of C major. And it ends up fitting perfectly. So that's the lick. Very common. So there's several ways you can play this. I'm just starting the arpeggio with my fourth finger. So you have D, F, A, C, then walk it back down. Walking it down that same exact Dorian scale, or that same exact scale, the C major scale. Same exact way. So don't get confused on when I'm saying Dorian or Mixolydian or 2/5. It's the same scale. We're in the key of C major. We're using the same exact chord tones and the chord symbols and the notes inside of that scale. So C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C are going to be included inside of whatever we do. So we have D, F, A, C, walk it back down, B, A, G, F, E. Same thing, right? You don't have to worry about accidentals or anything like that. So that's one way. So let's do it again. So those are a few ideas that you can use over that 2-5-1 progression when it's in that rhythm, that specific rhythm, when you have the D minor 7 and the G7 split between one measure for 2 beats, right? Don't forget the first one. We did the Dorian scale all the way up to the E, the third of the C major scale. Right? So I'll have this backing track available for you guys. I'm just playing the chords over it, just so you can hear what it sounds like on top of that. So I want to dive deeper into developing these solo techniques and eventually for you guys to be comfortable enough to create your own. So that's what the next set of lessons linked to this lesson is going to be about, just developing your solo technique, being comfortable enough to solo or to be on stage or to be asked to solo. I get a lot of questions from you guys, ton of questions about soloing, so I hope you guys are ready. Make sure your notes are coming out clean, clear, and precise. Take it slow, and I'll see you guys in the next one.